Welcome guys, welcome to BeckerArt, and today's my demo with David, and I'm usually doing stuff for myself this time. Saturdays Sundays and Sunday mornings are about I'm trying to learn something, and I've been doing these scenes of singers and just people's and music and musicians and stuff, and so that's why I decided I haven't done that in a while. Actually, all summer I haven't done that. And let me just show you a couple I've done before. And here's a few I've done in the past. Here's one I had done in the past. And these are all, you can find these all online here. I did these all like I'm doing today. And so this is one I done. Here I did another one. Then I did this one. And I really enjoy doing these musicians. I wish I could be a musician like this, but there's only so many things you can do, right? And so what we're going to be doing is the reason I like doing these instead of doing like a portrait is because I like to put action in the scenes, and also with the action I also like these singers and stuff. You can put all kinds of different colors in there and not just go with like regular flesh tones and stuff, because they're singing and they have all kinds of different lights on in the background, like this one right here. Right there. So you see there's yellow, blues, and reds and all kinds of colors in there, right? And so you can have fun with it. And then it doesn't have to be perfect, because I want to have them look like they're singing and moving. And so I thought that was really kind of fun thing to do. And so let's get started here. And thanks for dropping by. And if you have questions, please ask. And this is all for you. And also for me, on Sunday mornings for me, because I'm just trying to practice again. And so with this one, the BeckerArt 3-step is what I normally do for my paintings. I do them in 3 steps. And the first one being I do all the lights and the color scheme. I kind of do that right from the beginning, from the get-go. And so as a watercolorist, you kind of got to know what the value pattern is going to be. And so the value pattern, meaning the light is light, the dark is darks, and all kind of combine together and get them into like a design. And so this one, you can see the person basically is the dark and the background is the light. And so that's pretty simple design, right? And so I'll go with the lights first. I work with my lights. And since the background is my lights, so I might as well do the background right now. And have fun with the background. And like on this, I really love doing kind of all fun kind of stuff. And so what I'm going to do is wet the background. And when I'm doing this, I look for like a path. Like, what kind of path am I going to take on this? And so I'll take the path like when I'm stopping, I don't want to jump around, because sometimes it'll dry and give it hard edges. And so you got to look for hard edges. And since the background doesn't have any hard edges in this one, I'm going to start way down here and I'm going to work my way all the way around. Or I can do it this way. I can do it this way around. But I'm going to start from this side and just go around. All right, so I'm just going to wet it as I go along. And I can go right into the person, because she's going to be darker. She's going to be darker. And so what I can do is I can let the lighter part go into there, and sometimes I even bring them all together, but I'm just going to wet this as I go along. And the hair is darker too, and so I can put some of the hairs in there right away. Let's see. Let's put this down here. Oh, hey guys. Hey Maria. Hey Sherry. And so I started with my lights, and I look for the big lights, and since these are really bright colors and back there, so I really like that. I enjoy doing that, where in a regular portrait, a lot of times you don't get those, you don't do that to the regular portraits, which you could. I mean, you could do that, but when they're singing and they're on stage and you can have all kind of twinkling lights and all kinds of stuff, that's kind of fun. So I'm going to basically take some really bright colors and just start out and putting some really bright colors there. Why not? It's like, and also I was talking to my class yesterday, my Saturday morning class, is that it's fun to make your own kind of wash. Like, what is that makes your washes and watercolor look really cool? Is it not as in temperature, but as in really neat? And so do you like using like salt? Do you like using pigmented paint? Do you like using granular paint? Do you like using salt in there? I just said that right, didn't I? So it's like, what makes your wash and watercolor really stand out? And I like to do wet into wet, for one, to get the soft edges, but then also, I like spattering. It's one of those things that you can spatter water in there, and watch out for their parts. But there's so many different things you can do in watercolor that are really kind of cool when it comes to washes. And so you pick out. I have one lady in one of my classes, Lynn, who does the plastic wrap. Puts it down. It makes really kind of neat texture in the wash. And so basically, wash is all about texture or not texture or being really clean. And so you pick your kind of texture or your kind of wash and just go with it. Just really kind of emphasize that. See, I'm just going to kind of go through here, go right into the hair. The hair's going to be darker, so just go right into that. And just, maybe I'll spatter a little bit with my brush a little bit, just get a little bit of texture in there. Again, it's your kind of wash. What do you do in your washes that look really cool, that's really neat, that you do that maybe nobody else does? John Pike used to smoke when he would drop his ashes into the washes, and it would give it a certain effect, I guess. So that's whatever you think, whatever you're gonna want to do. Here, I'm gonna put this as a little line over here. Now this changes from a red to a blue, so I'm just gonna put these next to each other. And then there's even a purple in there. Oh, it's not a purple. See, I'm still learning my palette where the colors are, and once I get them all figured out, it'll be good because then it's not going to change. It's going to stay that way for a long time. Hey Karen, good morning. And now, how would you go right into a blue? And I'm looking at this, is this dark enough? Don't leave the area until it's what you want exactly. And so, and that's the path, right? I remember I said this is a kind of a path I'm going to take all the way around. But I got to make sure that this path I'm taking, I get it done down here. I don't go farther than I can until this is done. Because I'm never coming back to this area. I'm never coming back. I'm leaving it alone. I'm getting the design I want. I'm getting the colors I want. I'm getting the texture I want. And then you move on to the next spot. So there we go. So that looks, I don't mind that. That's okay. Everything so far looks pretty cool. Up here, probably not dark enough, so I'm going to go a little bit darker. There's a little bit of dark right here next to the light. And then it goes right to a really light blue, like almost like a turquoise blue. I'm going to use Horizon Blue. And it has a little bit of white in it, so it's a little bit more opaque. But if you're putting it in water like this, and it'll just lay there, and it'll lay there and become very transparent because I'm using a lot of water, and it's just floating in there. So it's not thick. I'm not using it like gouache where you're using it thick. But it is white in this thing, so it is kind of gouache-like. But I'm just using watercolors here, and I make my own gouache by adding white to it or making it thicker, using the watercolor thicker. Let's plan on going ahead with the water here. Just go in front. Now here's a real nice light over here. I do want to watch her face on the side here, so I will go a little bit slower, and I'll kind of wet that only to the part because I do want it to be not the blue to go into the flesh tone. So that's all wet. And then we're going to get a little bit darker as we go on here. So it gets a little darker over here. And this is a gradation. It's something you should learn how to do. And you can just take and do that by just taking a sheet of paper and learning how to do a gradation, wet into wet gradation, where you're adding a little bit more pigment as you're getting darker, and let the paint soften itself. No, with watercolor, you never ever have to blend. Blending in watercolor. Blending happens on its own by just adding water and making a soft edge. That's how you blend in watercolor. With oils and acrylics and stuff, you do it with the brush, right? You blend it together. You help it along a little bit, but you let the water blend for you. And it's the coolest thing about watercolor, I feel. It's like, how cool is that you never have to blend anything? I'm really lazy in that aspect, so when I go to oils and do some other mediums, it just drives me nuts that I have to blend. Because here I have to do no blending whatsoever. So we'll do this. I'm not sure I like this like that. It looks like devil horn. So we're going to make this a little bit come down a little bit, which it is in this picture. So, and look at how dark it gets up there. It almost gets to a dark blue. So I'm going to take a dark blue and put a really dark blue right here. And let that blend in again. Now if you don't have enough water, you can't blend it. It doesn't blend by itself, so you have to add a little bit more water in your brush. And then you help it along a little bit. You help it along by just lightly putting more water in that area. I can just put a little bit more water in this area. I'm watching out for the face here. I don't care about the hair. I'm going to put the white in there if there's the light hairs. And the thicker, the more I can control the wash. The thicker the paint, the more I can control the edge of the wet into wet wash. And that's something you just practice. Practice how to do that. Practice how to take a little bit more pigment. Just take a scrap sheet of paper. Don't do a painting while you're doing this. Just learn how to do a gradation. You have to know how to do this type of painting before you actually go out there and do a painting. So you don't have to, I mean, you can do a painting too at the same time, but then you start, especially don't do a commission, because then you're going to look at it more about what you're doing instead of what you're doing for learning how to use the medium correctly. Excuse me, I don't have anything to drink here this morning. I totally forgot about it. So here, I'm going to take a little bit of water, and I love my towel on here because the towel always gives me a chance to take away the water from my brush. I can put in water, take it out. And down here, you gotta watch that I didn't get this hard edge right here. And then it goes from here into this area, so I'll wet it. Then again, it goes into a purple. It kind of goes into a purple over here, which is kind of neat. And there's no line right here, so just down. I'm not sure why I made a line right there. So I'm wetting it. I'm going to wet into the microphone only because it's too hard to go around all of this. So I'm just going to go around it, and I'll just come later and either rub it out. So again, evenly divide the water. Let it evenly distribute in on your paper. And then take the color. Like now it goes into like a violet. So take a little bit of violet, put that in there. I'm going to go right into the, like I said, I'm going to go right into the microphone here. A little bit darker violet. And this is kind of, I gotta use a smaller brush because I'm kind of working in a tight area here. I'm gonna use a smaller brush. Use the best brush that works for that purpose, that area. And so I'm just gonna go in here with a round brush. Gotta clean out my brushes better. This is a little crusty. My paint is a little crusty on the brush. See, I'm getting a watermark because this is starting to dry a little bit too much, and so it has to be the same wetness when you're going in. Yeah, learn how to keep your brush the same wetness as the paper, and that's just by practicing. Just practice, practice, practice makes perfect, right? You can feel as soon as I put my brush down, if it's too much water in my brush, it extends and goes into the wash and kind of separates the paint and everything in your paper. But if it's all even, if it's all the same wetness, then it just floats together. Basically, things just float together. Now, I am going around this area because this is red against the purple. And it does get really dark over here. Let's make it really dark over there. I go right, like I said, go right to the microphone. I can blend that later. Then it goes down to a pinkish color. So a little red in this purple. I changed the hand and I changed things around the picture over here because I didn't like how she was holding her thumb there and stuff. And so I just wanted to make it look more realistic. So now the bottom of her chin, and this area starts becoming really red again, orangey red. So let me just go right away to an orangey red and wet it. I should have wet it beforehand. Let me go right into her face here. Let's go into her face a little bit because there's a red down there that's bleeding into this area. So I'm just going to go right in there right now. Here I gotta add some water so this blends together on its own. It's best to first wet it a little bit more than you want so that it stays there a little bit. And then as it's drying, then you can put a little bit more water in there because you need to have it all evenly wet. And so this dried really quickly here because I didn't put much water there, so I'm getting a watermark. Now it's going to be really hard to get this back because I have to re-wet this whole area. And so I got to go back in with these colors and let the pigment then float again. And so I had to put more water in there so I can float the pigment again. Like, it's possible to do that. It's possible to go back into an area and look at, I erased there with my eraser. And so a lot of times you affect the paper when you're going with your eraser. Now, the hand is darker, so why am I just not going right through this? So let's just go right through the hand. And I'll add a little bit of pink for flesh tone. I mean, again, I'm doing my lights. Remember, I'm doing my lights, the light area. Put a little bit of pink into the microphone. I haven't been wetting ahead enough. That's one thing I should be doing. It's like I haven't been wetting ahead of myself. Like, you should wet the whole area and then work into that wet area. You can't work the little area without wetting the big area. Because again, why is that? The reason you have to do that is because you need to have it all wet so it blends itself. It's all about blending itself that I'm talking about today. Learning how to work wet into wet. And that was my whole week, as I've been talking about that to all my classes, because we did a snow scene on Thursday and it's all wet into wet. And so basically, when you're working wet and wet, you got to keep it all nice and wet and let things blend themselves. If you don't, then it's just so hard to get it to blend itself, because you can't really blend watercolor with a brush like you can oils and stuff, because it just doesn't work. Go right into her neck because that's going to be darker. As it goes down here, it's going to have this red again, so it comes across kind of. And her hand is going to be darker too, so just go right into that. Right down here, same thing. Just go right through all that. Don't worry about that because it's all going to be dark on top. I didn't really make the washes really super fun at this time. It's basically I just kept it all evenly. I think it's because I was talking about that. But we can go back in later and also do things that are, maybe you have a technique that you use on dry paper. Maybe you spatter it. Maybe you do something with the dry paper that you can't do with wet in the wet. Alright, I think that's good enough. Let's go a little bit darker on the side here. Take a alizarin. Worry about alizarin right here. Yeah, so alizarin, make that a little bit darker. Yeah, wet into wet when it comes to watercolor is one of those things that you really need to learn how to do. It's just such an added benefit to your tools that you're using to make your watercolor look great. Yeah, this area really bugged me because I kind of stopped and I had to go back. Remember, I went back in. Well, don't ever do anything when it's damp. There's nothing you can do. So what I'm going to do is I wait till it dries and I'll go back over it after it's dry. We all get to points sometimes where we do something wrong, or it just doesn't work the way we want it to the first time. You can go back into it later, but you have to wait for it to dry so that you can re-wet it and then give the wet into wet look again. All right, so now we're going to go right into the face. Now, because this is all the background, it's my lights, and now we're going to do our mediums and darks, and that's going to be her. And she does have some lights in her face, and that's the hard part, is doing her face, because you gotta get the washes got to be in the right areas. And the soft edges have to be right areas, so you got to get a little bit. Drawing has to be perfect. You have to have good drawing when you're doing a face. And so what I'll do is I'll wet it all, except for maybe the area that I want to keep light. But that, like the edge, the brim of the nose is light, but it should be a soft edge. So I'm going to wet the whole face by making sure See, I didn't even. You have to redo this whole edge because look at, I got a lip coming out there because I spent too much time on this and I let it dry too fast. So I'm gonna re-wet that whole area later on. But now I can go in there and do her face, basically. So I'm gonna wet the whole face. And her, people think about teeth and the white of the eyes to be white, but they're really not. Look at her teeth in this picture; they're just as dark as like their flesh tone. So basically, go right over her teeth, go right over everything. And I'm doing it wet in the wet at first because I want to get all the soft edges. I don't want hard edge. My technique is not hard edged. If you have a technique that's like harder edged, then yeah, you do it on dry when you have a hard edge. And there are some artists who do everything hard edged, and they have a certain technique that do that. I try to do it wet in the wet. I know, like a Ted Nuttall, he does very light dabs and stuff for some of his texture on the paper, and those are done on dry sometimes because they're very light tints and they put little dots in there. If you ever look them up, Ted Nuttall, they're really neat, but it's a different technique on how to do the face and stuff. All right, so now we're going to go into the forehead being more yellowish. That's usually correct anyways, is that the forehead's usually yellower, the cheeks are pinker, and the chins are more grayer. That's usually a thing that you do with any face. And so I'm going to start out with the lights again, and this is all wet in the wet right now, right? It's all wet, I just wet it. Trying to evenly wet it. And then you have to use a lot of pigment to then control, oops, that was the light area. Her cheek right here is light, so I'm just going to keep that light. And I like to find a path also when I'm doing my face. I try to do a path from top to bottom or from left to right. There's got to be a path you're taking. And so I'm going to, and hopefully you get the right values. I'm going to use a little bit of, it's called light red. It's more of a turquoise, not turquoise, a terracotta type of color, or burnt sienna. So it's a burnt sienna kind of color, and I don't make it too wet because I have to control the edges, and so I'm going to make it a little bit thicker on my brush. My brush is just damp, and I'm going to let the water again soften the edge, but I'm also kind of rubbing it in, and I get a little bit purple with this terracotta. It's called light red, and it's again like a burnt sienna. You could use burnt sienna also. Put a little purple in there, and I'm just going to start shadowing the figure or the portrait. The nose is kind of nice and warm. Everything's warm because it's the red light on her. It goes up here. I'll do that side later. I'm going to just do this side first. And here is where a smaller brush would work better. I'm using this big brush again. Use a brush that best fits the purpose of what you're doing at that moment. Put a little purple in this, makes it kind of brownish. And maybe a little bit of red in there too. Especially around her cheeks. I'm going to add a little bit orangey red in the cheeks. That goes down to her mouth. And remember, this is going to get a lot lighter, so it's not quite dark enough. So I'm going to take some alizarin, put that into the light red, try to making it a little bit darker. And also, I like doing these kind of scenes because you don't have to get the exact color of the flesh tone. Anything in here will be fine because there's other colors on the outside. So use some of the colors that are on the outside, like that are shining. All this red, this blue, that could all go into the flesh tones. So that's the reason I like doing that. So I don't have to just go with one type of color for the flesh tone. I'm still thinking about how it is in real life, but I'm going to give myself an option of putting other colors in there. And I kind of drew it too light because I can't see where some of the drawing is, which could be a really bad thing when it comes to portraiture. Because you got to get things right on. Like here's the eye. And there. Got a shadow coming down from there. Then we'll do her old chin, which is grayer and darker. So let's just keep on going with this warm color. I'm going to go right into her lips in a second because I want to make her lips red on top. And here you got to slow down a little bit too, because this is the important part. This is the center of interest, her face. So don't be afraid to stop and slow down. And try to get it right, the drawing wise of the face. That was too much water in my brush. As soon as you put your brush down, you see that it's spreading out too far. You have too much water in your brush, and so go back, rub your brush on your towel, and pick up pure pigment. Pick up pure pigment so that you can then stop it from running all over the place. And it's very easy to see it because as soon as you put down your paint brush onto the paper, if it's blending and bleeding too far right then stop. Stop right away, because you're not going to make it not bleed if by putting more of the water in there. So pick it up and try it again. Oh, this is my alizarin. I was going for the wrong thing for my alizarin. Again, it's a new palette that I just put together, and so I'm really loving it, though. Really loving that all my palettes will be the same now. This is still wet, so I can go back in here still. If you guys got any questions, let me know. As I'm going down here, it gets a little dark down here, but right here. Now this is all dried, so I got to re-wet this whole thing. This whole area I got to re-wet. And I'm going right down to this part where it's going to be the strap for the guitar. Like you don't, I was going to put a guitar thing right there, but it would be squished in way too much, and so I can stop right here as I'm wetting it. Really dark right here. And keep it moist, keep it wet, so you can keep on going with your wet into wet. Oh, I put too much water down. Look at what happened. I'm going to say right now that doing portraiture is a lot harder than doing landscapes, because if you're off a little bit with the nose, or it's not like a tree where you can put the branches anywhere you want, but so it's a little bit harder when you're doing portraiture. But don't stop not doing it. Don't not do it because you think it's too hard. Just, you have to try it, practice with it. It's fine. You'll get it. And the more you paint, the better you get. So just keep on doing it. Keep on getting in there. There's so many things you can paint. That's so much fun part about it. We all do all kinds of different things, and so that's why I'm kind of excited about next year, about how I'm going to just start doing everything for myself. Just going to try to figure out what I want to paint. And I know it's going to be interiors and some plein air and stuff, but it's just fun knowing that it's going to be whatever I want to paint. Let me get a little bit darker. Keep it wet, keep it wet. And it's not, I can't really do it with my spray bottle on this one, because it's just a little bit too small, and it's going to cover everything then. So I try to keep it wet with my brush, and always with the same amount of pigment and water. That's why I'm practicing it today, because I kind of haven't done one in a long time, so it's kind of it's more difficult. So, but that's a good thing, it's good to practice it and just try. Let's go back with the darks. Alizarin is my reds, my light red, my burnt sienna. Nice reflection on her chin on the bottom here. It gets really dark going down this way. I'll put a little purple in here too. A little lavender, purple. A smaller brush. And since it's like I want her to look like she's moving, it's okay to be off a little bit, because the fact that she's moving, they'll give it more of a look like she is moving. Like I'm gonna get a couple of these hairs in here just because I want to be soft edged on some of the hairs and not all the hairs being hard edged. And this is gonna get really dark right here, and her ears really dark inside here. Again, I'm trying to get all the soft edges done. Trying to get in here and get all these beautiful soft edges that are working wet into wet. And on a face, it is a little bit more difficult because you have to keep it wet, and there's a certain form you got to get on the face. And there's a little bit of warmth or lightness right here underneath her chin. You can also do it with the amount of pigment. If you go a little bit thicker with your pigment, it'll stop it from running all over the place. So I'm going to use a bright color here of a lot of pigment. It's almost like gouache I'm using now. Up here is going to be lighter. Side of her nose didn't get quite orange enough, so I'm going to re-wet this area here a little bit and put a little bit more orange in here, or yellowy orange. Oops, chat went away. Yes, I am on a 300-pound paper. Sherry asked if I'm on a 300-pound paper. Yes, it is 300-pound paper. It's Stonehenge. Alright, so that's good enough for now. Let's just keep that as our dark areas on the face, or our medium and lights. I'll go to my step 3, where will be the details. I'll get that as soon as I start doing my details. Alright, let's do the rest of this part. Get that all covered up. My lights and mediums. And my darks, my dark mediums. Large area of dark, step 2. Now this is really dark here, but I'm going to go with a medium first on it. And I don't know, it's kind of a blackish blue, so just going to put that down here. Stops by the arm. I should be doing the arm first, because you always should do the lighter parts first, and the arm is a little bit lighter there, but it's still step 1 and 2 in this, so you can get a little bit looser with those parts. And I'll make this a soft edge. What the heck? Now here, part of her shoulder is a little bit lighter, a little bit more orange. And remember also the intensity of the color lessens when it dries. Also, not only does the color get lighter, but it also lessens the intensity of the color. And she does have some tattoos on here, which I made them roses, but we'll see if I can get them on there. I'll get them on there afterwards. First I go for the big parts. I don't do details until at the end. Because again, why do you want to do the big parts? Because you can get these beautiful washes that I'm doing, right? What I'm talking about all day today is about how you get these beautiful washes. And so you wet big areas to get the beautiful washes, and then you go to details. That you do details afterwards and get them to look really detailed, where this is just has to look like a good wash, a really neat wash. What is your wash? How do you do your washes to make them look neat? Some people use like brush strokes, and when it comes to like oils or gouache, they have a brush stroke, and that's their technique, and that's what makes gouache look really cool. And oils and having a big swatch of white in there and stuff is. Oh, look at this little light back here. I'm just going to pull that out with my brush right here. A little bit of light. That's actually a little bit of lavender in there, and I can put that in later on too with white paint. Or if I'm a traditionalist, I would do that with masking fluid. I put that in with masking fluid in the beginning. This gets really dark over here. See, I keep on working until I get it done, until I feel it's to the point where I can stop doing that area. And it's floating, and I'm getting the look I want. I do help it along when it comes to blending. Like it's wet, but I do push it into the light area, and then I'll take some light and push that into the dark area. And then just let it go. And I can see it's going to combine together because of the water. And that's one thing, learning your pigment ratio between water and pigment ratio is really important. And it's hard, but you have to use a little more pigment than most people do. And that's one of the things I always tell my students, to use more pigment. The paint companies will love you too. Okay, this is really dark, but I can wait for my darks for that. Now let's get her arm being nice and dark. And I will not put on the bracelets until after. I go through big areas first. I'll get the bracelets later. Now our hand is really dark in the shadow here. Because if I stop for the bracelet, then I don't get that big wash again. It's all about the bigger washes that you can possibly get. And then we got this side of the hand will be, of the fingers will be darker. It goes up to the hand. The thumb can be dark. Just looking for questions. No questions. Big areas. Work the big areas first. Should get a light around here on your shoulder. So the background is not dark enough. So like I said, I'm going to redo that area. So I'm going to show you how to go back into an area. It's all good. This should actually be dark right there. And you notice how I'm trying to do wet in the wet here because it's the background, and so I want it to look like it's the background by just being soft edged. Alright, let's do her hair. And the light parts of her hair that are in the back here, those are going to be done with white paint. And again, if you wanted to do it with masking fluid, you could, or rub out later on. But I'm just going to be using, white paint. So now I'm going to wet the hair. I'm going to wet the hair again because I want to do the soft edges first. And so I just wet it close to the edge. Because that'll give me soft edges right when you pre-wet it first. Use my smaller brush because I want to get some really nice wet areas here. And then I'm going to do the strands, strand by strand in some areas. Take a little bit of black. Of course red, she's going to be a redhead. So I got to get the red out over here. And there's some curls here. And I'm not going to go for every exact single parts of it. I'm just going to get for the big parts at first here. trying to get the bigger areas. And then I go in there. If you do every strand, it will not look watercolor like. It'll be more hyper realistic. So I like to get it to be a little bit less hyper realistic by just adding big areas of the hair first. And then you can scrape into it. You can do all kinds of things to it, but first you got to do the big areas. You can rub things out, you can scrape things, but if you have it all, just every individual hair, you're not getting any of the soft edges. And that's the part I definitely want to get some of that soft edging in there. This goes right into the eyes again. This is a little bit darker here, so I can go right into this darkness again. There's a shadow underneath the hair. Again, I'm looking for big parts. I squint my eye and I look for big parts. Don't have to worry about the small parts yet. I do try to get the dark right away. I don't try to build up on it. I don't go back in later on with a darker dark. I just try to get them now. And I look at the back of her head is more blue, and some of this blue is reflecting in there, so take some of that, put it in there too. Put some of the blue in there. And again, this is wet first, and then I'm gonna, and with her hair, if she's moving, it can look like it's floating around too, like it's, go around her ear with the dark. Yeah, some of the hairs can go on the side here, inside her ear. I can show a little bit of that. Make this really nice and dark. More blue in some of those parts. Behind her ear is really dark. Look how dark I'm getting. I mean, it's almost black. That's okay, because you can always, once it's wet and wet, you can put float other colors in there right away too. Like maybe some red in here. Go around the bottom of her ear, get the hard edge. Show where the, later on there's going to be a earring right there. Work it wet, work it wet. This is a little bit darker there. Now I should bring this back into this area, but I'm going to stop right there because I'd have to re-wet this all, and it's still a little damp, so I'm just going to take it right to there at the moment. Take a bright blue, some alizarin, make it really dark. Let me see what it looks like. Oh, my palette is shifting a little bit. I should be doing that with like red because those are, they're on the edge and they're small, and I shouldn't even do those right now anyways. I should do the big parts again, like I said. Do more of the big parts. I'm gonna bring that right into this, to the strap again. Maybe the strap has a little texture, so I'm gonna go and get a little bit of texture. A little pattern in there. And then her top is really, really dark again, so I'm just going to take a really dark color. Let's take Prussian blue, peach black, a little alizarin, maybe some Prussian blue, more Prussian blue, and watch this. We're just going to go in there and go really thick. It's really wet too, though. My brush is really wet and thick. And so just go in there and right away just get this dark. And then we go around the back here, and this comes back to this part. Alright. Also right here on this side of her neck is the other strap from her dress. And then we have, this ear's a little bit too sticking out like a sore thumb, her ear, so it's a little bit too light. So I go in here and dull that down a little bit, make it less obvious. just go over it all completely and make soft edging. Now, while this is drying and I can get for the detail stuff, well, let's really quickly do the microphone too. Let's get in there. Just going to make it dark right here. Again, this is a gradation from light to dark, and I am going to redo the background. Remember I said I was going to redo the background. I'll show you that in a little bit. I'm just going to do the edge of the microphone, and it's lit on one side, and again, that's going to happen when I put the white in. And so this side is going to be pulled out a little bit because it's lighter. It's getting the overall look of the microphone. You notice how I just dip into what I have there, because it's pretty much, I just go looking for the light or dark. I don't care what color. I know I've used all these colors in the picture, so it'll be fine to use that for the microphone, just a nice dark. There's no detail in that yet, it's just the overall piece of it. And what else? Let's see. Alright, so this hand got way too light in the background, so let's do the, there's a really dark here, and then I showed this, let's like show the guitar or something. Let's make this really dark too. And this is the little post of the, for the microphone. This is probably the guitar head. Let's make a wire or something, I don't know. Alright, so what should we do now? This front of the back of her hand should be a little bit darker. Actually, the thing will be fine. What I forgot to do is I've got to redo this area, because that's like going to make her mouth look better. So I'm going to start wetting it from this point on down, and I can go around my microphone. I can go down here, get some of those hairs. So let's just re-wet this area now. I'm just going to take my bigger brush, take some clean water, and just put some clean water over this. And make sure you go right around the nose. Make sure that's all nice and wet. Don't go into the wetness that you just did for the microphone. Just going to go through here. Wet it enough. So nothing happens when you re-wet an area, as long as you don't blend too much, like if you scrub it. But now let's go a little bit higher with the water. Alright, so now we go back in with a smaller brush, and I'm going to start working that area darker. So again, go in there with my violet. I had a violet over here, right? And so I'm going to make it a little bit dark, but see how now it's going to be soft edged again, and it's like you're starting from the scratch again, which is fine. It's a great to start again. I can get the right edges, the right color, the right value, and just use the pigment correctly this time. And if I did it wrong again, I'd go back in again. I mean, it doesn't matter how many times you go back in, but you have to let it dry. Just remember, you need to let it dry. Blue in there. And this time I'm really gonna work the edge of the lip. Sorry, you probably can't see this, but I have to go slow. So I'm going around her mouth and making sure that it's perfectly around her lip. And again, it's floating again, right? So the pigment is floating again, which makes it so nice because it's a soft edge again. Keep on going. Watch your brush that's not too wet. If your brush is too wet, again, it's going to just come out of your brush and just float all over the place. I need to stop right at the hard edge here. And then it's going to go right to a orangey yellow. So I'm just going to go down here and make it a little bit darker. Remember I said I'm also going to make it go into the hairs and show the hairs right away. So it looks like right by your chin here, then all of a sudden we get some hairs that are light, some negative paint around the hairs here. People sometimes ask me, do you do one of these beforehand, so that you know what you're doing? Not really, no, I never do a painting first and then do it again. I'm doing it, this is practice right now, and so you're helping me and I'm looking at things, and so I may make some mistakes, but that's all good. That's why you practice, to make mistakes, so that you know next time not to do that. Or how to do it. It teaches you how to do the edges. It also shows that I also make mistakes at times. Not everybody, you can't sometimes get exactly the things you want sometimes in your painting. So don't worry if you you made a mistake, because we all make mistakes. We all do things, and then you just learn on that mistake and go again. Do it again and again and again. And it actually teaches you more when I do make a mistake. And same thing for yourself. If you make mistakes, you learn more than if you do it right the first time. So this will be, also I put some white in there later. This goes down, it gets a little bit more red. How much time do we have? Oh, not too bad. And while this goes on this side, we have to make sure that this and this part of the hand look the same. So I'm going to take the same color there and just go down this. It's a little bit darker. Same thing with the other side. This seems like it to put a little bit darker on that side too, which is all good. You can go about 3 washes down, 3 washes, and then after that you have to start. It starts getting overworked a little bit when you do over 3 washes on an area, because colors are mixing and they're getting grayer and grayer, and so it's a little bit harder when you're going too many times on your paper. I try to limit it to 3 times down, and then you should be done. Just a little bit darker. See how I like to put these washes together? I like to have them kind of come together as one big wash. Those are the best washes, the ones that come together all together as one. A big wash. Now let's go again with this area over here. Make it a little bit darker so that it shows the edge of her elbow. I mean her shoulder. Okay, that's really bright red. Remember, we got really bright, but let's go a little bit darker with alizarin. And now let's just go up and go really bright, maybe a bright orange here. So we haven't got the detail stage yet. We have not get to step 3 yet. This is still step 1 and step 2. Step 1 again was the colors and the lights, and then step 2 is the large mediums and darks, which now is going to be the last part of it. And now we go into our details. Okay, let's do our details. And so with my detail brush, I'm going to take a small round brush, like a number 8 round, and I'm just going to go in there and I'm going to start with all the small things. Like, let's start with the eye. Might as well start with the eye. Go in there, get it really dark, because you really can't see your eye because of the shadowing. And so I'm going to take a really dark color and just that what's there. I mean, it's eyelashes. Underneath the eyelid is the eye, but it's all shadowed because of the eye being right there. The eyelashes, I mean. And it goes down below, and there's a shadow underneath the eye here a little bit. And then the top of her lid is warm. And so I'm just going to make that warm right there, but darker right here. There's a little part of that's the lid up right there. Get that right in there right away. take a little bit of pink. This is a little bit opaque right here, so a little bit of pink right there. Same thing on the other side. We'll just do that on the other side right away. Then on our eye, on our brow right here, on our forehead, we have a little bit of a highlight. This is a little bit too light there, so we're going to tone that down a little bit by shadowing it. A couple of those shadows on there. Then we'll do a little bit darker around her nose. On this side of the nose, we're going to see the edge of her nose right here in the nostrils. Nostrils can be nice and dark, but really red. Don't make your nostrils blue. It looks like you have dirty nostrils. So make them warm. Make your nostrils warm. This can be a little bit darker. So light wash over this can help it. You don't have to make a lot of pigment in your brush, and just a little bit of water, and just put it down. Wet it a little bit. Inside her mouth is really dark. And again, make that warm. Don't make it cool, because otherwise it'll look dirty. This also shapes the top of her lip and her bottom and top of her teeth. And her teeth are too white. Though I guess you can keep them white, but that looks kind of like they're sticking out, so that doesn't look great. So just make them a light pink, because everything around it is kind of pinkish. So and her top lip is going to be a little bit darker too. I'm going to put red in the part where it lit up the most on the top. And then a little bit darker in the bottom of her, the under part of her lip. A little bit darker. All comes together on the edge here where it's dark. Her bottom lip, underneath her lip, is also dark. And this is all should be wet in the wet, because it all should be soft edged, but when I'm working such a small area, I can just basically rub it to softness. I don't have to have the water. So I guess I am blending a little bit right here, but very little bit. And I'm just pushing it off here. Really nice and dark. Don't forget your darks. People feel really, they don't get dark enough. A lot of you guys don't get dark enough because you don't have enough pigment in your brush, and you don't have fresh pigment on your palette, or you don't have Holbein, which always stays fresh. You gotta use fresh pigment, because it's all about how much pigment you actually have in your brush, how much you're picking up. This is going on the front here, on the side. And now I do have to wet this whole area here, because I need this to be soft edged. So I'm going to take a bigger brush and wet this with a little bit of water. And then float some darks in here again. Float darks. See how it's floating? And this is a little damp. This is not going to be good, because it was still a little damp. Now, if something is damp, it's not good to go back in and put more water, because you're picking up the pigment that's already on the paper. So that's not a good thing. So definitely make sure it's dry before you go back into an area and re-wet it. It's got to be bone dry, not damp, because that's what causes it to then pick up the paint that's underneath. And you don't want to pick up the paint that's underneath. But I'll make it work. I'm a professional. We'll make it work somehow. I'm re-wetting the area. re-wetting the area also with a color in my brush already, so that the water is blending right away. It's got it, and it's taking some of the pigment underneath it and blending that also. And here I'll get the earring in a second. Oh my gosh, it's 9:30 already. Wow, this time went by fast. Let me just give me a few more seconds just to show you. I mean, most of it is pretty close, and I'm just doing details, and details take a while. I mean, you got to take a little bit more time on details, and so I'll go in here and just get some of the hairs. I might as well keep it running because I am going to be working on it until I get it finished. So if you got to leave, come back. Again, that's fine. It'll be in here forever. David, can you show us how your new palette fits into your Sienna plein air palette? Sure. Hold on 1 second. Let me just get a few of these more done. This is my plein air palette, and I painted it with the black of the bed of a truck. It's like truck bed paint, and so it's not all the way to the edges, but as you can see, it just fits right in there. And I want room for pencils on top here, but it just fits right in there. And then I have a top for it. I just have a piece of plexiglass, but I just put like this, leave it on top. And I'm going to put my names of the colors right there, but that's how it fits. All right, so I'll let you know. Yeah, that's my plein air Sienna palette, and I painted it black because I use watercolor on it, and with the watercolor, it gets everything wet, and I don't think it was made for watercolor, the Sienna one, because all the joints came apart. So I re-glued it, and then I sprayed it with that paint. Well, I'm gonna leave it here, and I'm gonna be finishing this up as soon as I get off the air here, and I'll show it to you online on Facebook and on Instagram. And but pretty much you see now all it is just details, basically going through, and I'll be using this bleed-proof white to do my lights, like on the back of the shoulder here a little bit. I'll do the tattoo in dark, right? The little tattoo I'll put there. And the hairs, like these hairs will be white. And now the same thing, I'll use this, and I'll put a little color in it with this. It's water-based. This is Dr. Martin's bleed-proof white. It's just a nice white that's very opaque. And so I'd like to use that on, probably put them on the microphone. I'll just do one thing on the microphone to show you how I would use the white. And that will be done. So I'll just take white. I just go dip into the jar, and I use it pure, and I'm just going to go in here and at the edge where it's really bright, and just see. It's just going to be used just right out of the jar, and I'll take it and just and for the hairs, let's say the hairs right here, I'll just. And it'll look much better when I get more of that detail in here. Right now it's kind of weird that you have some of the details like this. But I'll go in with this white, and I'll just get some of these hairs. All right, so that's it for today. And again, come back, and it'll be all pictured onto the video too. When I get it finished, I'll produce it back on there, and I'll show you what it looked like finished. All right, it's a little bit harder to do a figure in 1 hour than it is to do a landscape, but it's all good. All right, have a great rest of your Sunday, and we'll see you on next Thursday. I think we'll be doing some kind of greeting.